evening. My name is Stafford, and I'm the engineering manager at Tennessee American Water.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Armstrong, and I am the president with Tennessee American Water.
Kruchinski, I'm the director of operations with Tennessee American.
I'm McKenzie. I am the vice president of the board of commissioners for the Walden Ridge Utility District.
Lawson, I'm the assistant general manager of Walden Ridge Utility.
Good evening, I'm Ron West, the Walden Ridge Utility District general manager.
Good evening, I'm Daniel Peterson, a CPA serving Walden's Utility District.
Good evening, I'm David Fulton, I'm the secretary of the board of commissioners.
Kurt's going to go ahead and get the presentation set up for us here. I'd first of all like to say thank you to everyone that has come out this evening and joined us for this public meeting. We are excited as far as Tennessee American Water to be here. First of all, to be able to be a part of the RFP process and to be able to express our interest and our desire to purchase the water system up here for the town of Signal Mountain. We have been the water provider for Signal Mountain for the last 93 years. And we've also been the water provider for the city of Chattanooga and surrounding areas for the last 130 years. I am even more excited to be able to have a number of our employees to be here this evening. We are a local company. Our employees live and work within the communities. Our families are involved in the communities. So I would like to ask, if you are with Tennessee American Water, you don't have to stand up, but if you would, please hold your hands up. And I just want to personally say thank you for coming out this evening. Thank you for the job that you do each and every day as an employee for Tennessee American Water. I'm going to turn it over to Stafford. Kurt's going to proceed with our presentation for this evening.
Thanks, Val. I'm going to try to, I know that some of you guys might not be able to see all this stuff, so I'll try to explain it to you in depth. But again, my name is Stafford, I'm the engineering manager at Tennessee American Water. And at first I'd like to start out and thank the town council for setting up these series of meetings as a way to share information. This is a great venue for that. Also, I'd just like to let you know I live on Signal Mountain, so this is a very personal thing for me too. So the slogan for our proposal is Signal Mountain, local for 93, for reasons that I'll go into shortly. So who's Tennessee American Water? So we've been the local water provider in Signal Mountain since 1925, when the wells were in dry due to a drought. Beyond that, we've also been the local water provider for the Chattanooga area since 1887. It's over 130 years. Our 100 employees, which Valerie recognized quite a few of them here tonight, serve over 390,000 residents in the greater Chattanooga area. In addition to our larger Chattanooga service area, we also have about 250 customers in Suck Creek and about 2,800 customers in the city of Whitmore in the Sequatchie Valley. Both Suck Creek and Whitmore were recent acquisitions. So we have 4 goals for Signal Mountain. One of them is that we would love to continue to deliver essential quality water, and we'd like to make the residents our customers. We have a strong commitment to work on the traditions that we've been doing for the past 93 years. In our 130-year history, we've never, ever had a single water quality violation, and that's something we work very hard to ensure never happens. We also perform 21 times better than the industry average when it comes to meeting EPA water quality standards. For the past 18 years, we've also received the EPA Director's Award for Water Quality. That's something that only 9 other utilities in the state of Tennessee have received. And we get that for going above and beyond the water quality regulations and constantly assessing our treatment process to make sure we're doing everything we can to potentially improve things. So our proposal brings many unique benefits to Signal Mountain. One of them is as the owner and operator of the Signal Mountain water system, we'll become a taxpayer. We're estimating that benefit to be up to $1 million over the first 10 years. This is a new revenue stream to the town, and we've heard a lot of discussion about taxes being a big deal. So we know this is a very key benefit for you guys. And this is something that the town council can allocate where they decide to put these funds. So at Tennessee American Water, we also pride ourselves on exceptional customer service. And this is something we want to bring to the residents of Signal Mountain. Tennessee American is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We believe that our 93-year history with the town will allow for a seamless transition for the customers. Customers are really at the center of everything that we do. In fact, our Tennessee American Water employees that we recognized earlier volunteered over 1,400 hours of community service in 2017. One example of that includes working with some of the high school students at Signal Mountain Middle School. They were doing a project on water filtration and actually came to our plant and we illustrated the process for them. Another thing that we do is we receive over 90% satisfaction ratings on our annual customer surveys. So we want to use proven techniques to help upgrade the Signal Mountain water system. These are already things that we're doing in our Chattanooga service area. First, we want to build a hydraulic model to help guide upgrades. We also want to build an asset management program. And we want to use national contracts. We want to leverage national contracts for materials to stretch our capital dollars and get more bang for our buck. One of the key things that we want to recommend at Signal Mountain too is that we create a local water advisory board. And the way this would work is that Signal Mountain residents and leaders, as chosen by the town council, would be able to have input and provide guidance on projects and initiatives that we do. This is something that we've used in a lot of other communities around the country and it's been very successful. So let's take a step back and talk a little bit about infrastructure. The condition of water infrastructure across the U.S. is actually poor. In fact, the American Society of Civil Engineers gave it a D rating on their most recent 2017 report card. And really the reason for this is that a lot of the pipes and infrastructure that we have in the ground were installed in the early to mid-1900s with a life expectancy of about 75 to 100 years. So a lack of maintenance and lack of replacement have put us in a position where these are starting to leak. In fact, it's estimated that every day about 6 billion gallons of water is wasted through leaks. That's enough water to serve about 15 million households. So this is a summary of our 3 proposition proposals. They vary depending on how much land the town council ultimately decides to sell. One of the key things that Tennessee American wants to do is we want to provide employment opportunities for the existing water employees at Signal Mountain. That's something that we did in Suck Creek. That's something we also did in Whipple. So that's a big deal. We also, as I mentioned before, we're going to become a taxpayer in the community, and we're estimating those benefits to be up to $1 million over the first 10 years. We also plan to strategically invest about $3 million in the system over that same time period. Our $3.4 million cash offer unlocks an estimated $3.8 million in water funds that can be used for other town needs. That brings a total value to the community over that first 10 years of over $11.2 million. So one of the goals that Signal Mountain had through their RFP process was maintaining rates for the first 5 years and also maintaining rates that were comparable to peer cities and towns. So Tennessee American Water is prepared to hold base rates stable for the first 5 years, pending approval by the Tennessee Public Utility Commission. We also compared local rates from Tennessee American and Signal Mountain to some other local rates based on average residential usage of about 4,000 gallons per month. It's important to note that Tennessee American's rates are based on actual cost of service. The Tennessee Public Utility Commission actually sets these rates based on the actual cost to deliver water to customers. So this is sort of a summary of what we've done. We pride ourselves on delivering exceptional customer service to Signal Mountain residents. So we have the track record, the expertise, and the ability, we believe, to be a solution for Signal Mountain's water needs. The 10-year value, as I mentioned before, to the community is over $11.2 million. And we looked at that 10-year basis because we want to show that the benefits of our offer go well beyond that first initial cash sale. So I'd like to reiterate our 4 goals for Signal Mountain. Provide outstanding customer service, continue to deliver essential quality water, personally invest in the community as a taxpayer, and develop a strategic plan to upgrade the infrastructure. Finally, I'd like to wrap up with our slogan, let's stay local with Tennessee American Water, your partner for 93 years. Thank you for your time and consideration.
We appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. David? Closer. I don't go out to eat it. We appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to tell you a little bit about Walden's Ridge Utility District, how we operate, what type of organization it is. I've had the ability to be with this district, gosh, since the late 80s, I want to say. And so I put a lot into it, and to where we've come in those years, for those of you that have been up here all those years, is pretty far. We have good commissioners. We've been blessed to have, not me necessarily, but the other commissioners, good commissioners, and believe we run a pretty efficient utility district. I'm going to let Peterson do a PowerPoint presentation. He's more experienced in that than any of us. And so I'm going to turn the floor over to him.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to represent Walden's Utility District, Walden's Ridge Utility District. Walden's Ridge Utility District is a public utility district that was formed in 1947. By being a public utility district, they are transparent. Their meetings are open to the public, and you are there as a participant providing input in the processes. They are also subject to the Open Records Act. Basically, if there is a disclosure that's required, they are required to comply with that disclosure request. They're locally operated, just up the road on Taft Highway, 3900 Taft Highway. A local office, staffed Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Customer service representatives for you to talk to, for you to make payments to, ask questions, and be engaged. Their field staff is available after hours to respond to emergencies, 24/7. As a customer of Walden's Ridge Utility District, you have multiple options in which you can make your payments. You can come to the office. You can sign up on the web and make your payments through the website. You can mail your payment to the office. You can drive through the drop box at the office. You can call in your credit card payments. You can go online and make your credit card payments. You can sign up for bank drafts. They also have an option for you to sign up for e-billing. You can receive your bills electronically. You also have the option of accessing your account online. Our employees are local. We have 3 commissioners currently who are residents of the district, a manager who is a resident of the district, and office staff and field technicians that are all residents. Those local employees are invested in your community. They're engaged in school activities, churches, nonprofits, fundraising. They have an invested interest in making this community great. There's a history of cooperation between the Town of Signal Mountain's Water Department and Walden's Ridge Utility District, helping each other in times of need, providing assistance. The experience of the utility district is long, 71 years of operations serving Walden's Ridge customers. The current staff have over 120 combined years of service in the water utility business. They have 2 operators who are licensed through the state of Tennessee, providing them duplication. When one operator is unavailable to serve, the other operator is in place. They have 3 distribution licenses amongst their staff. They are governed by a local board of commissioners. Those commissioners represent 66 years in serving the utility. Those commissioners are appointed by the county mayor. If Signal Mountain were to come on board with Walden Ridge Utility District, they are proposing making a 5-member board, adding a seat for a commissioner for Signal Mountain, and adding a seat for a commissioner for Lone Oak Utility District. The rates are decided by those commissioners. Those commissioners are ratepayers. The commissioners are charged with a fiduciary responsibility to keep the best interest of the customers in their focus. They meet monthly, and those meetings are open to the public. Their decisions are based upon current ratepayers, and they also think prospectively to those future ratepayers as well. Through their planning, foresight, and experience that they've had, and they bring to the table, they're proactive in planning for the growth and development of the system. That's exhibited in their automated meter reads that they have in place. It's exhibited in the main lines that they've installed over the past several years, making sure they're sized not only to meet the current demand, but sized to meet the expected future growth. They're sophisticated enough that they have their entire system mapped in a GIS software, where every valve, meter, and line size is in a database electronically, where they can monitor that information and build a database going forward. In addition, they have hydraulic mapping of their system. The hydraulic mapping helps them understand when and how much water can be pushed through certain areas. The tank elevations create pressure. That pressure goes through the system. A 2-inch line has different pressure than a 6-inch line. The hydraulic mapping helps them make management decisions so they can be proactive in planning the system, the replacements of the system, and the growth of the system. They provide a quality product sourced from Hickson Utility District. Hickson Utility District is a groundwater source of water, not a surface water source. A groundwater source essentially is a cleaner starting point, which requires less chemicals in the treatment and filtration process. They have an on-site bacteriological lab that is state certified. They have done testing for Signal Mountain for over 12 years. In addition, they've done testing for local utility districts, Lone Oak Utility District, and Soddy Daisy Utility District before they merged with Northwest Utility District. Their balance sheet is strong. They've been able to build out the system and continue to grow. I do financial ratios for other utilities. I have served in the utility world as a consultant for 18 years. We've looked at their financial ratios. They have over 270 days cash on hand. What does that mean? It means if the utility, if something fails, and they don't have revenue coming in from their customers, they can continue to operate and pay their bills. It's an important metric in the utility business. They have a AA- bond rating. That is strong for our local utilities. A utility with 3,700 customers at AA-. I don't normally see that with 3,700 customer utilities. They also have a backup source of water, an agreement to basically buy water if something were to fail from a secondary source. The data that they have is secure in multiple ways. The access to those physical records is limited to only those who are authorized. Doors are locked. Passwords on computers to log in. Passwords to log into the software. There's a daily backup of the server that's taken off-site to storage every day. So if there is a catastrophe, a failure, they can be up and running the next day. Employees are critical to the success of the utility district. The utility has non-unionized employees that are offered competitive wages. They are participating in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, a state-sponsored pension plan. What that means for Signal Mountain is that the Signal Mountain employees who are hired by Walden's Ridge Utility District will be able to carry their years of service into Walden's Ridge participation in that same state-sponsored pension plan. They won't lose the years of service in their pension. Walden Ridge Utility District offers many benefits to their employees. Vacation, paid time off, health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance is paid for by the utility. A $50,000 life insurance policy on their employees, plus a $2,000 life insurance on the dependents. Short-term disability is provided by the utility district. There are optional supplemental insurance policies as well: cancer, wellness, heart and stroke, accidental, and other supplemental policies at the employee's discretion. Walden's Ridge is a public utility that's accountable to its customers, focused on providing that local, live customer service to their customers, open to the public, where the public can participate in those discussion and planning processes. If you have questions, you can ask for records. No, they don't pay income taxes, but that affects your rates. If there's going to be a rate increase, there's going to be a public meeting. There will be notification so that you can be a part of it. Their water is sourced from groundwater. They participate in the state pension plan. They also offer two other unique benefits to their customers. They have an insurance policy that essentially helps cover for leaks, unexpected leaks that occur at your house, where you can have the insurance company pay for that leak. They also have a line loss protection program that's offered to you. That line loss basically results in the replacement of the water line. Walden's Ridge Utility District's offer was $3.6 million for the assets. Plus, they're going to pay the $200,000 for the RFP that was requested. They expect to invest in the utility $2.6 million over the next 5 years. They agreed to keep the rates frozen for 5 years. Walden Ridge Utility District.
some questions relative to the proposals. Obviously, these are extensive documents. If we state something that you feel is inaccurate from the proposal, please make that point. So I'll begin with a few questions. The council will signal to me if you have something you need to throw in. I'm just going to kind of get things going, and we'll go from there. Some of the things that I had to ask you folks have covered in your presentations, perhaps one more than another, so we may revisit those, and feel free to expand on what you said as you wish. So there's been a lot of attention given to the fact that the two utilities have different water sources. Actually, in the proposals themselves, it doesn't talk about there being an actual change in the source delivered to Signal Mountain. So if you would, simply explain your plans for supplying water to the town of Signal Mountain, including source and how that would be handled. And let's start with Walden.
We fully intend to switch Signal Mountain to Hickson as soon as possible. I talked to our engineering department. Once we're given the nod or the okay or the approval from the council to move forward, we will have engineering work done. We anticipate a connection within 2 or 3 months. We want to utilize the Hickson water in the town of Signal Mountain as soon as possible. So yes, we would be using Hickson water for the town of Signal Mountain.
Just as a follow-up to that, is the 2.6, would part of that cost be taken up by that switchover? The initial cost, we figured it's only a couple thousand feet. Currently, we're at the interconnection point that we bored into the highway joint venture 3 years ago. We have a 12-inch main at that point. We're currently ready. The connection on your side is only a 6-inch on the Taft Highway side. We're anticipating running a 12-inch back to James Boulevard where the tanks are. We don't know exactly where the 12-inch starts back there, so we're anticipating a couple thousand feet of having laid on the main line there. So 2 to 3 months, depending on the weather and the rock, sewerage, whatever's on the line there. But whatever comes our way, we'll have to address. Could you explain what occurs during that 2 to 3 months?
Well, you currently have a contract with Tennessee American through July 1st, I think. So I'd anticipate continuing that supply until we're ready to hook up. We did the same thing when we purchased their assets from Tennessee American, and I think it was close to 9 months that we purchased water through Tennessee American during the Hickson interconnection. So I'd anticipate continuing, and I hope to have a contract in an emergency situation to continue using the water in an emergency situation.
Yes, we would utilize the same connection that we've used for the past 93 years to serve the town of Signal Mountain. Interesting, we have a network of pipes that supply water to that pump station at the bottom of the mountain. So additional redundancy coming up the mountain, as well as an interconnection and a contract with Walden's Ridge for emergency supply, as kind of outlined by TDEC in the last cemetery survey.
Okay, that's one thing I wanted to touch on as well. Given the plans that you just outlined, how do you ensure that the town of Signal Mountain has a secondary source in case of emergency?
I don't think either one of us want to walk away. We want to provide you water on secondary or primary. I don't think We currently have a contract with them on the emergency situation on Mountain Creek Road. I anticipate one here also. I don't think they would want to eliminate, terminate that agreement if they don't get a contract. Would you? Okay.
Now, with that same situation, we would work with Walden's to, set up an emergency connection and work through that process of doing that. It's mutual aid, and we do that with all of our existing utilities that borders with Hickson, East Side, anybody that we boundary, we try to work with.
So no matter what our decision is, we'll be covered through a transitional period. Are we getting that commitment from both parties?
We will definitely have 2 connections in the future.
I think we're good with that, don't you?
Thank you.
Tennessee American Water outlined a tax recoup over 10 years. Is that a similar sales tax? Is that what we were talking in terms of as a sales tax? Or what kind of tax reimbursement was that? The second part of the question would be directed also to Walden's Ridge as far as that particular tax recoup. Is that a similar structure that you would have? I'll let you go ahead first.
The taxes we're referring to are property taxes. So the value of the assets in Signal Mountain, we would pay a property tax on. There's also an income tax as well that combined to equal that $1 million over 10 years. I believe that is unique only to a private utility as far as paying property taxes.
So that would be different from your standpoint?
Correct. And that's what I think Daniel expressed in the slideshow. It affects your rates because they filter them right back in there, and virtually it's put on the burden of the backs of the taxpayers, of the ratepayers.
Okay. In the proposals, Tennessee American communicate and touched on it to some extent. That you plan to invest about $1.25 million in capital improvements for the first 5 years. Can you give us a little more detail on exactly what that plan entails?
Sure, I think that's a good question. So, when we had our due diligence meeting back in January, we came up and looked around the facilities and stuff like that. And one of the things that we recognized was that we need to have a good SCADA connection that we can monitor remotely. We can monitor back and forth the pumps down at the bottom, the pump station down at the bottom of the mountain, and then also the tank level, so we can see that remotely. We can update, we can turn pumps off, turn off pumps. So we estimated that upgrade was about $95,000. We also talked about changing out the manual read meters to automatic AMR type meter reading, and that's about $650,000. We're planning to do that in the first year that we take possession of the system. Also, we talked a little bit about infrastructure in the United States and how things are in such poor condition. We want to create a sustainable infrastructure program. So we're planning to replace about 1% of the system per year. Initially, we would start out and we would do a valve and hydrant survey, figure out what was broken and replace that. So we have money built into our plan to replace valves and hydrants and things like that that potentially broke, and then keep that on a sustainable path forward. So we have about $200,000 each year for pipe replacement to get things up to date.
When you showed the slide of infrastructure, general problems in the United States, how would Tennessee American's other towns compare to the average condition, if there is such a thing, of infrastructure issues?
Yeah, that's a good question. Typically the condition of the infrastructure has a lot to do with when it was installed. Cities that were built back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they would have older pipes. One of the things that we've done in our Chattanooga service areas, we've looked at back all our pipes. We categorize them based off the pipe size, the material, and things like that. So we've got a database that ranks all of our pipes and which ones could potentially be the worst. So we've got an asset management program that we use to help guide our investments.
Is it all GIS map?
Yes, it is.
We would do the same thing. We have put automatic read meters in. We talked about that at the session there. We'd also come back and GPS all the valves, hydrants, meters
to inventory what's here, use the current staff to help us find stuff that maybe it's not mapped. Because mapping and trying to find out what's exactly here is very important to make future decisions on what areas need to be replaced and what areas are having issues and problems. And that's something we've done for Walden. We've been very aggressive. We have a map back there. You can look at the lines that we've replaced in the last 13 years. We use our own staff. We're very aggressive on replacing lines. And we think it's very important. Look at the pressures, because leakage is a big cost on pumping water. When you have a high leakage, say 6 million gallons or 6 billion gallons, when you're pumping that up the mountain, you're paying electricity costs, you're paying water costs, and then virtually the ratepayers are paying for that loss. So that's why we're trying to get ours down. I think we're down to about 21%, which is, I think it was in the 30s when I come. So by replacing main service lines, using new technology, we've been very aggressive and will continue to be very aggressive and replace old mains, and we'll do the same for Signal Mountain.
Each of you in the financial equation, as we try to dissect this and look at it, included that portion for infrastructure upgrades. We have a number of 2.6. I'm not sure what the other number is, but that's not realistically, that's not a live by number. If you need to spend less than 2.6, you'll spend less than 2.6. If you need to spend more, I don't think you'll spend what it takes to get it done. So as we add that in, you're basically saying you're going to spend the money necessary, but we shouldn't actually put that in the financial total because that number may slide significantly either way. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that is fair. You know, one of the things that we were trying to figure out through due diligence, we were trying to sort of do some assessments of how old the system is, and we got a little bit of information on that, but we're still going to have to do some more information. Once we get into the process, we're going to have to figure out some more characteristics of pipes and what we need to do and things like that, because like I mentioned before, we want to create a sustainable program. Right. So if we don't want to spend money just to spend money, that's definitely not what we're trying to do.
I mean, you're not going to cut us a check if you only spend 2.3.
Right.
So as we assess the financial piece of it, we need to take that into consideration. Thank you.
And along those lines, I think it might be a good time to point out that in both of your proposals, you talk about the current assets of the town. You address how they would convert to the town differently. You say you would buy our current cash assets. You say you would just simply unlock them and they would stay with the town. But you have two different figures, and those are based on what those numbers were at a given time. The fact of the matter is that if there is a sale, the amount that's in those accounts and available will be the same for either entity. So that difference in figure is irrelevant to the whole equation. I just want to make sure we're in agreement with that.
Nice. Follow up on that. Does the amount of money that's in our water fund balance, it seems odd to me that both of the offers are pretty close to what that balance is. Does that correlate to what the offer is from both of the companies?
I want to make sure that I understand your question. Are you asking if our purchase price would have changed had the balance in the account been different? No, it did not factor into that. Our goal is to ensure that whatever money that is in the water fund, whatever that balance is at close, that you all as the town of Signal Mountain would keep that. So that did not factor into the purchase price for us.
And a follow-up on that, just a clarification with that, Dan asked. What you're both saying is the purchase price you offer, be it 3.4 to 3.6, that comes to the town of Signal Mountain, plus town of Signal Mountain will then have the funds that are currently in our, what's the fund? Water fund.
Yes, that is correct. So that slide that Kurt showed earlier for us, where it talked about $11.2 million over 10 years. That includes the 3.8, yes.
That's the same for y'all, correct?
I think the fact that the two offers were submitted that were so close and that weren't, obviously, we didn't collude to come up with those offers, pretty much tells you what your system is worth.
Absolutely. Thank you. I just want to clarify.
All right. So if, and we'll start with Walden, and I'm probably going to lose track, so if I'm picking on somebody going first all the time, just tell me. The questions for both, we'll start with Walden Ridge Utility. If your organization acquires a Signal Mountain system, would it be fully incorporated into your system, or would it be operated independently? And how does that translate in terms of the number of ratepayers that are helping take care of our system?
I think we're fully incorporated in our system. We looked at it with Daniel's help. We don't think it will affect the Walden customers. The offer we made, the money we plan to invest, Signal Mountain has a good customer base, and I think it's a strong system. I think it can support itself, but it'll be, our customers will have a higher cost. We're not going to change our rates. Signal Mountain will have a guaranteed rate for 5 years. I think in Tennessee American's offer, and they can answer this, if they have a rate increase and Tupac approves it, theirs will change. We guarantee ours will not change.
I can talk to the first part of that for sure. We would integrate the two systems into one combined water system, combining one PWS ID number, which is the public water system ID. So one set of lab results, one group of employees. The employees at Signal Mountain would work with the proud 70 union employees that I had at Tennessee American. They would be one team working together. So honestly, Signal Mountain gains quite a bit. When there's an emergency, you've now got 76 potential employees to help with any issue on the mountain, and the entire resources of Tennessee American will be available to the mountain.
Can we go back for a second on one of the questions that was asked earlier, because I don't think Tennessee American got to answer it, and I'm curious on that end. What does a turnover look like if you are awarded the contract? Transition.
Can you clarify a little bit?
We talked before, where we asked what's entailed. Chris, what's entailed? If we award the contract to you, we got a 2-3 month, but no interruption, everybody's guaranteed backup. What we didn't allow was you to answer that question as well. So I'd like to understand what the transition looks like if we selected your firm.
Honestly, I believe it would be very seamless. During the transition from the time we were to sign a contract till we had all the approvals from TDEC, we would be working with your team to integrate all the customer information into the system. We would be working with employees so that they're up to speed on day one. We would be working together, and it would be a seamless transition. The water source wouldn't be changing. The customer information would be imported in the system. There would be a last meter read that the town Signal Mountain would do near at the day of closing. All accounts receivable will be paid over to the town Signal Mountain. That would be my initial meter read. So customers after that day would be running the Tennessee American system. And from that day forward, we would work together with the employees. There will obviously be a learning phase. But with the employees from Signal Mountain, I believe they would want to come work with Tennessee American. We'd be putting them with crews and people on the street to learn the system. But from a customer standpoint, I don't believe they would ever see a difference.
So to simplify that, for both of you, to simplify the process, and for us, it's going to be better if it closes at the end of one of our billing cycles. So it's a cleaner transition.
We'll just need to have a last day. However you all want to do that.
It doesn't have to, but it'd be easier, correct?
There will be a final read that will kind of be the end of Town Signal Mountains customers, and they will then transition as the first day of Tennessee American.
Ron, that's the same for you guys, correct?
Yeah, like I said, because we'd take up the building and meter reading and current session as we change over the meters and change the cycle, because I think they'll change to a monthly cycle as we are. I can't speak for them, but we've changed to a monthly cycle, which currently is on quarterly. But the customers, when they have a leak or an issue, they may not know it for 3 months, with us they'll know it 30 days or less. So I think it'll work out a lot better and be a lot cleaner, easier. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to go back to, you were talking about employees, the Town of Signal Mountain employees. Walden's Ridge spoke about pension and years of service. Can you talk about how you may be able to provide, or are you able to honor that?
No, we would not be able to honor a transition all the way from the state's pension plan because of us obviously being a privately owned entity. However, we do have benefits that are immediately available for employees. There is a deferred compensation program for employees that contributes into an account for savings for them, as well as 401k that employees are able to participate in from a retirement standpoint, where there's a company match. Very similar to the benefits that Walden spoke about, insurance, supplemental insurance for employees, so there would not be really a huge transition there from a benefits standpoint. And we feel very proudly of the benefits that we offer. We have a very rich benefits program for our employees, and we did include a copy of that into the RFP.
Can you also talk about or elaborate on how you would guarantee there would be a rate increase over the next 5 years?
Well, our goal is to ensure that we keep rates flat for the next 5 years for our customers. As we talk about through our RFP, that's going to be, of course, subject to TPUC approval, and our goal is to go in to ask for that. We do not have any planned rate cases in our near future for us to go into for Tennessee American Water. So our goal is just to continue over the next 5 years to keep base rates flat. We will make the necessary improvements in the system relative to capital that we spoke about. And again, as we just shared with Mayor Howley, the plan that we have at the 1.2 million, it could be more, it could be less, depending on what the system is and the condition once we begin to evaluate that.
If I could to follow up on that, you agreed to keep Signal Mountain rates level for 5 years. Right now we have basically 2 rates for citizens inside the town and a different rate for those outside the town. Since the system would no longer be a municipal system and that difference really wouldn't exist any longer, how would you handle that full part of the rate structure?
So in the interim, the first 5 years, or until there's a rate case, it would be handled just like it is now. They would stay as base rates. At some point in the future, they would likely go under one rate that would be based on cost of service, because for us, there's not going to be a significant difference between serving someone outside the town and someone inside the town. The cost is getting water up the mountain. So I would see those rates blending, going together at some point in the future when there's a rate case to work that difference out.
Well, I see that didn't know there was, I understand there's a few that's out of town rate. To me, we don't have a different rate structure for in town, out of town, or Sequatchie, so I'd see everybody being on the same rate structure in Signal Mountain.
From the beginning?
After the first 5, yes. Does anyone, how many customers do you have on the outside of town?
In our proposal, we did propose all your rates will stay as they are for the first 5. We won't be changing anybody to any rate other than yours.
Trying to make sure I understood a little bit about the board representation that would be involved here with WRED.
And one of the issues, it looks like, and we learned this evening, that there will be a 5-member board. Currently, it looked like y'all had 3,700 customers that you're dealing with here, and the town would get one vote for all of the customers within the town on that board. Is that what I understood?
Currently, we have all three of our, we're not a bi-county board, yes, but as we merge with Lona, we serve part of our service area currently is in Squatch County. And we have been talking with Lona about merging into our district. And as we come up by county, we'll have to add another board member. And so that's why Signal Mountain, you know, it's appointed by the county mayor. So I guess as the county mayor, or they come available, or currently we add one board member from Signal Mountain, appointed by the county mayor. But we just moved to a 5-man board.
Yes, sir. I was just wondering, at least on that end, if it was the town had the most ratepayers within the town, what advantage would it be for the town to have one vote, even if the majority of the ratepayers were within the town?
And initially, we would expand the board to include someone from the town of Signal Mountain. Our charter, I believe, requires that the board members reside in the district. Well, once this all becomes the Walden's Ridge Utility District, we expect to expand to 5 board members and include one of them. Going forward, as we roll off and other people roll on, it could be the town part of Signal Mountain of the district could end up with 2, 3, 4 board members. We would all be in the Walden's Ridge Utility District.
Yes.
So we're all eligible to serve on the board.
Yes. Now, I was just wondering about the population within the town is bigger than the 3,700 year current ratepayers, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's about double it.
Yes,
I think they're about the same, similar. But
we're just talking about initially.
Right.
Yes.
Phil, one of the issues is we have to have an odd number.
Yes.
Of course, for obvious reasons. But there's a utility district here who had, I think, 7 or 9 or something. Was it 9? 9. Their meetings went on for hours. It's wasting, in my view, a lot of time, talking, wanting to hear themselves. So it gets a little unwieldy, maybe.
Yes, sir.
But I think his point's good. It'll be one utility district, and the town will have, all the input at once on the county mayor, when some must resign, and I would anticipate we'll have, we're not saying there should be just so many from outside the town, so many from inside the town. I think that fixes itself, because the customers can write the county mayor and can nominate people.
Yes. So there is some influence with potentially folks within the county here, at least on the board for the WRED. I was trying to make sure with Tennessee American, because y'all had proposed a Signal Mountain Water Advisory Board, and I was wondering about would it have any type of voting power on the rates that are opposed as to the town?
I can actually speak to that. It's a really good question. The Water Advisory Board would be here in an advisory capacity. It would be a board that we would set up working with the town to determine kind of the perimeters that would need to be in place to provide feedback to us relative to the needs of the community for the water system. We'd love to be able to talk through capital needs, customer needs in the community. The Water Advisory Board would not have a vote on the Board of Directors, though, but we would definitely weigh heavily into the conversation and the feedback that we would receive from those individuals to direct the work and the focus up here for the town of Signal Mountain.
And the rates, at least, that Tennessee American would be charging would be based upon what the Tennessee Public Utilities Commission would approve, correct, statewide?
Yes, that is correct. And I would like to speak to that relative to the approval of TPUC for rates. And that is really one of the things that we appreciate being a private water utility is the regulatory oversight that we have from TPUC. TPUC, they evaluate all of our rate increases. They evaluate our capital plans, everything that we do relative to rates for our customers. And the goal is to always ensure that the rate increases are prudent. and that they are necessary for the system. In addition to that, we have the Consumer Advocacy Group, which is out of the Attorney General's office, and their goal is to always speak for the customer, to speak for the community. So they intervene in any of our rate filings, anything relative to rate increases for our customers, and they very thoroughly, I can guarantee you, very thoroughly evaluate our filings. And also there is an opportunity for customers to get involved in that process. It's a very open process, it's very transparent. We share anything relative to our capital plan with our customers. Any requests that may particularly come in, all of that is public information.
Would the Signal Mountain Advisory Board have any vote with TPUC?
They would not have a vote with TPUC. TPUC is actually appointed. It's a board that's appointed by the governor, the Speaker of the House. In fact, we don't have a decision on who's the TPUC commissioners. And for those that may not know, TPUC is the Tennessee Public Utilities Commission.
If we could, Walden Bridge spoke fairly extensively on how their customer service would operate here on the mountain. Tennessee American indicated they would be willing to have a customer service presence on the mountain. If you could speak to exactly what your intentions would be there, and certainly welcome Walden Bridge to add anything else you wish to on that matter as well.
I think a lot of the things that Walden spoke to about customer service, we offer very similar benefits as far as bill payment options, the website service, the internet access to your account, pay by phone. We have the kiosks at EPB locations. We could put a kiosk here at Town Hall so that customers can still pay their bill at this location. I'm sure I'm using a couple of Walmart offers, also a bill payment option for customers at the foot of the mountain. So multiple locations to pay the bills, to access the account. There's also, we have a full staff that would be up here working service work. So what's going on? We have a second shift that works in Chattanooga that would be also responding to everyone on the mountain. So as far as turning water service on in the evenings, that person is always working. So we have that type of customer service as well for turn on, turn offs. And like some sort of emergency type work that would be responding all hours of the day. So from a customer service standpoint, really the difference is volume. We have the staff to respond quickly.
I think one difference when you call us, you talk to a human. There is no punch 9, punch 6. You talk to an individual, day or night. We have an answering service after hours. We have people on call. We have staff. And they're local. And I think that's key point is when it's personal touch. When you walk into our office, we have people there to talk to you, to take your payments. When you have a service problem, we follow up. We want to make sure you're happy. We want to make sure we fix the problem. Yes, we're like everybody else. We may miss one, but there again, we try. So we try to put 110% into it, and we try our best for our customers, and so that's what we work for.
If I could add one thing, I think Ron brought up a great point. While we do have a call center that fields a lot of our calls, you can guarantee the fire chief, Stephen Mathis, like the fire chief in Chattanooga, has my on-call supervisor's phone numbers. The Water Advisory Councils I've been involved with in the past, they have my cell phone. The leadership team, the folks on call, they answer those calls 24/7. So while we can't offer 78,000 customers my personal cell phone, when folks need it,
we could.
Everything's negotiable. But the reality is, if you need to get hold of us, there's folks that are ready to pick up the phone every single time.
Interesting that you mentioned the fire chief. That leads into my next question. If we were no longer on the water system, we would still be responsible for fire protection. Can you tell us about your hydrant maintenance and flushing plan, how it works, who does what, and what kind of records you can provide currently?
Sure. So every one of our hydrants are inventoried in our GIS database and our asset management system. We're very proud to have all the information in there. I'm also proud to say that Chattanooga recently received an ISO rating of a 1, which is the highest that any fire department in the country can receive. It has to do with the water supply and the maintenance of those hydrants and the records. There's 3 main factors going to it, and I think your fire department here can tell you a lot of the detail on the fire side. But from the water side of it, it comes down to maintenance and record keeping. We do the annual flushing of our water system. It's all tracked electronically. We can back into those days when we were at each hydrant, the flows, the pressures. So that would be an ongoing thing for the town of Signal Mountain. Upon ownership, we would go ahead and GIS or GPS those hydrants into our system. If there are records, we would go ahead and import those as well. And I think we could work with the fire department here to potentially increase the ISO rating, which really backs into lower insurance rates for your customers or your town residents.
We have worked with Signal Mountain for several years. I think we've GPSed all the hydrants in Signal Mountain, Walden and Lawson, because they do mutual aid, and that way they all have books to help them find fire hydrants when they're doing mutual aid. We think it's very important. I think we've had classes for your fire department on teaching them how to flow hydrants, how to do maintenance hydrants. So I think it's very important to us on fire hydrants and ISO ratings. Tanks make a big difference. Pressure makes a big difference. So I think it's one valuable key point that I think being a good water system will help the ISO rating, which will help lower the insurance ratings for people in Signal Mountain.
Hey, do you have a maintenance program?
Yes. All utilities, all water departments have a maintenance program. We'll have a flushing program where we'll flush them once a year, or twice a year, or annually. I think it's required by TDEC, and we have records of it. And we do it. I think Signal Mountain does part of ours, or they flow them. Walden wants to do them, but volunteers are a little different. They are great guys. They volunteer their time, but they're, again, when you get professionals doing it, systems they have to do it after hours, and so I would rather do it in their daytime hours, and if we have problems, then we can help. And so, yes, we do have a maintenance program or hydrants, and if we have any issues or problems, we're here to help and work on them. Very comfortable with them. Okay.
Anything else? Yes. I asked Sure. Yeah. We're getting close to the time we want to try to transition over to the citizens and give them a vote. Those folks have time to ask some questions. But go ahead, whatever you have.
The town prides itself on being environmentally friendly. We've been a national tree city for the last several years. What have either of you been working on, or what technologies coming down the pipe, so to speak, that would help us to encourage that and maintain that? Do either of your firms have anything you're working on? Environmentally friendly?
We use a lot of HDPE pipe, high-density polyethylene, that's fused together. We're putting some on East Brown currently. We think it's a gas company that's been used it for years. I think it's a great pipe. PEX, we use a lot of PEX service lines. We too care about trees. The history of this mountain is awesome. I love taking pictures of the mountain. The trees, the history of the mountain is something that we need to protect.
You hit a good topic for me. I come from my background is natural resource management, so sustainability, environments, really my wheelhouse. The company itself has an entire sustainability program. We had a goal of reduction of greenhouse gases over 20 years. We've had that about 4. The way that happened primarily was through pump efficiencies. So one of our biggest consumers of energy is pumping water, and water is very heavy. We went on a very proactive program to replace pumps with more efficient pumps and motors, going to variable frequency drives, automation of those pump stations to produce water in the most efficient times possible. So we saw a major reduction just on the pump replacements, but it's a lot bigger than that. We have the recycling programs in our offices. While it may seem minor, it makes a difference. The energy efficient lighting in all of our buildings. So we went with the automated light switch to go on and off. Everything from the LED lights, the parking lot safety type facilities. We also like to give back to the community through environmental grants. Big part of our program, McKenzie helps with is taking the grants from the school systems and the community partners, the nonprofits that are doing environmental projects. So we spend significant time giving back to the community so that the citizens can do those environmental projects that are important to them. The HDPE pipe and the PEX, it's a little bit of a different topic for us. We are very firm on the ductile iron and the copper service lines because while the product may be a little safer, a lot of your costs is on how many times you have to go out there. A ductile iron pipe is going to last 100 years. An HDPE pipe has about half that lifespan or less. So really when you start looking at the greenhouse gas effects of an HDPE pipe or a ductile iron pipe, we're staying with the ductile iron, we're staying with the copper because the life cycle is so much longer than the plastic alternatives. And the ductile iron pipes are made of recycled material, so it has a different greenhouse effect on the recycled metals versus the plastic. So I could go on for a long time, but hey, we love it. Thank you.
Can you talk about, it sounded like you both said that you have backup sources if anything's to go wrong with the first source. That's a yes or no? Is everybody yes on that? Yes. Okay. There's been discussion on the source you're going to use for us up here. Could each of you talk about your source? And I understand that Tennessee American is using surface water as opposed to aquifer water, which you may use. Could both of you kind of expand on the benefits or lack thereof of what your sourcing water is?
So Tennessee American is surface water, Tennessee River water. The Tennessee River has about no fear of going dry. So you have two factors with any source, it's quality and quantity. From a quantity standpoint, the Tennessee River is essentially unlimited for Chattanooga, Hamilton County's needs. From a quality standpoint, the Tennessee River is an amazing source of surface water. I've worked several places across the country. The clarity of the river, which is an indication of the amount of dirt, materials in the water form matter, it is a great source of surface water. It takes, from a surface water standpoint, it takes very little treatment. From a chemical contamination type thing, we don't see a lot of impact at all in this area. The river, the nice thing about it is it's flowing. So if something is introduced into the river, it will go downstream. Whereas other sources of water, when contamination event enters it, it can take a long time for it to flush away, if it ever flushes away. So from a quality standpoint, we've been treating that water for 130 years. We feel very confident in our ability to treat it. The residents of Signal Mountain have had that water for 93 years. Again, we've not had a violation in our history in this town, so we feel very confident in our quality and our quantity.
Hickson has an outstanding source. It's one of the true groundwater sources in the south. Even during the rains, and as you see, the turbidity was super low. We've done USGS studies on it. They so they can sell us 5 million gallons of water a day without an issue. They have 27,000+ customers, and Hickson is one of the top growth areas in the Chattanooga area. So they have no issues or problems, and they do have a backup source with Walker Corner. I think they're going to do well this year alone, but they're totally groundwater, and they have no plans on moving anything else but groundwater.
Backup groundwater?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We live on the mountain,
We have a lot of problems, I guess, insofar as because we have to bring things up to the top of this mountain and we have to store it. So my questions to both of you would be, what level of training and certification do your personnel have to handle pump failures uphill and downhill that might affect us up here? Likewise, what training do you have regarding tank maintenance programs that might affect this mountain?
So we service several mountains in the area. So Lookout Mountain, we have a pump station very similar to one of the base of this mountain. Missionary Ridge, we pump water across it as well. There's a number of other smaller hills that we go up around Chattanooga area. So as far as pumping water uphill, not an issue at all. We've been doing it since our inception. From a tank maintenance and SCADA maintenance, we do keep that in-house generally. So our folks, our own maintenance guys are going out to the stations and checking the motors and pumps. We do rely on our maintenance services group. Some folks with our maintenance department have additional skills to do infrared vibration testing on those motors. And what that is a predictive failure model. So we like to be able to know if our pumps are going to fail before they fail. And we believe in reliability and redundancy for that reason. So there's always more than one pump in place. The SCADA system is talking back to our plants, so the operator is there monitoring all the time, so we get an alarm from anything from overheating to a flow dropping off or to a flow increasing as a result of possibly a leak or something else going on in the system. We have early indication of anything that's going on in those mountains. So very comfortable having folks in and out, looking at the stations. For a tank maintenance, we will outsource with a consultant called Tank Industry Consultants. They go out and do a lot of our inspections for us on a routine basis, and then we'll paint our tanks as they're recommended by those consultants.
I would add to that also that we have over 1,000 years of water professionals that work for us that hand down, they are the best in the industry. They bring the skills and the knowledge to be able to get in and get the job done. Our employees never complain. It doesn't matter how cold it is outside, how hot it is outside, and they get the work done. And I would also say that the current employees up here for the town of Signal Mountain, we would need to lean into them for their expertise that they're going to bring to the table as well. They have and they know this system. So our goal is going to be to work with them to be able to make sure that we're doing everything that we need to continue to maintain this system and to continue to improve it.
We have a pump station that we purchased or got in the assets when we bought out Tennessee American's contract, and we're currently working on our secondary pump station, which was at our old location at Levi Road. Casey is one of the top guys in, I've worked in the water industry for 32 years. He was working the plant at Follow Water when I come to Walden, and he's amazing. He does a great job for us. We've got a company that we work with, Ed Short, and we have a pump maintenance program. We have a spare pump, so if one goes down, we're back up in 12 to 24 hours with a secondary pump. We never want to be with just one pump, so that's why we're working on the secondary side. As we have talked about with the in agreements, you have to have the in agreements. You cannot you can't be an island, you can't be like yourself. You've got to have neighbors, you got to have a secondary source. So we have that in place, but we also are working on a secondary pump station that we feel like we need to be service Signal without any issues at all.
Thank you. Yes or no question. You both agreed to hire any employees that wish to come to work for you at or above the same rate of compensation? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. You guys have both proposed spending about the same amount of money in maintenance over the next 5 years. It's a little different, but not that different. The cost, I don't know who needs to speak to this, but the cost per foot of the poly product that you guys use for your main lines versus the cost per foot of the ductile. Can you guys speak to that so we get an idea of what we get?
When you get into 12 inch and above, the ductile is comparative price. So when we get into the 12 inch, we will be in ductile. So The poly we use in areas where the pressures aren't as high, but it's been used in Europe for 160, 180 years, so I don't see that it's an issue or problem, and I don't think it's a 50-year pipe.
You might speak to price per foot.
I'll start and I'll hand it over to an engineer who can probably hone in on it, but where I'll go with that is the pipe itself is pretty cheap. The cost is getting the contract, the equipment out there, the contract, design and all that, and then the equipment used for digging and doing the work. So depending on if it's in the roadway or if it's in a right-of-way, all your costs is in restoration and doing that work versus the actual pipe itself. Our contract rates for ductile iron pipe are a little bit confidential, but I think Kurt can probably speak to some of what our high-level ballpark costs are.
Yeah, so for ductile iron, you're probably looking around $75 to $80 per foot range, something like that. And I would go back to say, I worked for Knoxville Utilities, worked for about 10 years prior to coming here. We use a lot of HDP pipe, and I would say the ductile iron is a better product that will last longer, kind of like Kevin mentioned. There's differences between the useful life of those pipes.
We do all our own work, so I think overhead, we have our own equipment. I think we can do it cheaper. I'm thinking $50 a foot, just a wild guess. Like I said, roadway versus right-of-way versus restoration. It really depends where you're at, how much rock there is. As anybody knows, when you get to this mountain, this is the hardest rock on this earth.
So, as citizens, we've all seen roads get repaved and then a pipe breaks somewhere and somebody has to come in and fix that. You said you own your own equipment. Do you do the road yourself? I'm asking both of you guys, or you guys contract that out to someone else? And do you guys own your own earth moving and digging equipment as well, or do you contract?
So we do our own work as far as the earth digging and main repair. From a restoration standpoint, we would contract that out to TNT and A1 barricades. So A1 would be putting cones and making the traffic situation safe. And the TNT is going to drop plates on the road and do the global field back in the road and do the paper restorations. We would outsource that part of the job.
We would also outsource on the road repair. And TNT, we use them a lot also.
So, they're basically the same contractors, so you guys both use them on road repair side.
Road repair, yes.
All right, as Keith gets ready to kind of take over the next portion of the meeting, I want to revisit something one more time. We've touched on it several times, but it's an extremely important part of this scenario. However it's play out, this is one thing that's consistent in terms of wanting to make sure where we are and where we stand. You both just said that you have agreed to take on the employees of the town. If I'm not mistaken, both proposals, the wording were that you would hire qualified employees. We need to know what qualified means. What are the job requirements, and what exactly does that entail, so we know where our staff might stand?
I think your employees stand for themselves. 45 years, 25 years, I think they're all eligible. I've not met the lady that you have in the office, but as far as your outside people, I think they're all qualified.
Well, we would go through the process of getting to know the employees, so we would sit down and talk with them, learn about their background, their skills, everything that they bring to the table. Our goal is to be able to match your employees with the right role within Tennessee American Water. So the goal would be to go through that process and to make sure that the skills that they bring to the table, which are going to be probably unique to them, that they align with certain roles within Tennessee American Water. But our commitment is to hire those individuals.
I'd also just like to add that, we talked in the presentation a little bit about Suck Creek and Whipple. we brought on all the employees, both from Suck Creek and Whipple, into our employee business, into our company. So that's just sort of background on we make it a priority, because we talked before about the institutional knowledge they have and stuff like that, and we value those guys, so we want to bring them in.
What about their pension plans?
Well, again, we're not able to take over their pension plan because of us being a private entity and not a government entity. So my thought would be, and this would be kind of the dynamics of whatever is a part of their plan, that it would be frozen, kind of where it is. I don't want to speak out of term because I don't know the terms of their pension plan, but they would immediately become a Tennessee American Water employee, and then they would be eligible for all of our benefits as an employee of Tennessee American Water. Yes, we do. Yes, I spoke about it earlier. It's not a pension program, so it's your general 401k program where we have a match for employees that contribute to 401k. We also have a deferred compensation program where a portion of the salary of the employees is put into a similar 401k-like account. So that account itself, per se, is retirement for employees.
If you don't mind me adding to that, encourage your employees to contact Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System and learn more about their benefits and where they are in the vesting cycle. Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System will talk with them and tell them what their current pension benefits would be if they were to retire today, or if they're on the fence because they haven't vested yet. It'll be important information for those employees to gather as you all make a critical decision that will impact them.
Okay, Keith, if you would, we'll turn this over to our citizens. You have some cards, and if you would, just kind of switch out between the cards that you have and the folks that want to come up and ask questions. We'll get through as many as we can in the next 45 minutes or so.
So, as Mr. Veal said, what we'll do is I'll read a question from the card that you all have submitted, and then after that we'll get the answer to that. If somebody else has a question, raise your hand, and you can come up to the mic here and ask your question of whichever side it is. The first question, and I'm not really going to edit these, and just take them in the order that I got them. So the first one is, will Tennessee American explain its role with the Lono community and its access to water?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, at this current moment, we don't have a role with Lono. There is a history relative to Lono Utility District with Tennessee American Water, where back in early 2003, Lono Utility District reached out to Tennessee American Water to be a resource because there was a contamination with their water source. There's a lot of facts that kind of go into the history with Lono Utility District, and that's a great question. So I would ask that anybody that has questions about the details of that they can see Daphne Kirksey after the meeting tonight. She has a fact sheet that lists all of the information relative to that. In addition to that, I would like to ask someone that can speak to the facts to speak a little bit more about it. We have Adam Sanders here, who is with Baker Donaldson, and he can speak to. Baker Donaldson is our attorney representative that handled Lono Utility District with us, so he can speak to the facts.
And this is Adam Sanders. And who else did you point out?
Daphne Kirksey. Daphne, will you stand up?
Sure, thanks. And Val, you hit the nail on the head, so I don't have too much to add. But basically, with Lono Utility District, around the year 2000, they wanted to build out a distribution system for their citizens, and it was a community of about 150 to 200 homes. And so as they looked through the financing options to build out that system, the options were rather limited because when you have such a small base of customers, the initial capital needed can be pretty tough to raise. So I believe Lono talked to Walden's Ridge to see if Walden's Ridge Utility District was interested in financing and owning the system there. And Walden's Ridge Utility District, I understand, was not able to finance it at that time. So Lono was able to obtain, I think, $1 million of federal grant money, maybe $500,000 of a loan. And then they approached Tennessee American and asked if Tennessee American Water Company would partner with them to help them finance and build out the system. And Tennessee American agreed to do that. I think we contributed between $200,000 and $300,000 to help finance and build out the Lono distribution system. And we signed a contract with Lono Utility District to operate and maintain their system, which we did until around 2015 when Lone Oak exercised a buyout provision in their contract with Tennessee American and bought out the infrastructure that Tennessee American Water had paid for in that system.
All right, any questions? One first person installed. If you step up to this mic and just speak into it, Mr. Landrum will take it from there.
This is a question for Tennessee American Water. I understand that Chattanooga's got a very good ISO rating. It's a 1, which is the lowest you can get. If Signal Mountain were bought out, or Tennessee American was buying the system on Signal Mountain, I understand that we may be able to get a lower ISO rating, which would that possibly lower our home insurance rates?
Sure. We talked a little bit earlier about the ISO rating, and while it's not guaranteed by the water utility by any means, generally lower ISO rating will result in lower insurance costs, especially for commercial businesses and the residential businesses as well. I'm not an insurance person, but we work hand in hand with the fire departments to do everything we can to help them achieve that. And beyond the insurance side, it is a public safety thing, so it's the right thing to do regardless. We try to get those ISO ratings down, and we'll do everything we can to work with this department here to do the same thing up here. Thank you.
In fairness, if the Walden Group Utility District wants to respond to these questions as well, I'll give you a chance to do that. Is there any issue you all want to talk about the ISO ratings?
No, we work very closely with the fire department. Actually, we work with 3 volunteers and Signal Mountain. So we've always been pro working with the fire departments, trying to get down the ISO ratings. And I think one of the things Tennessee American will attest to is that when they have an ISO rating, they come to the water utilities and inventory to make sure they have the water capacity to fight the fires, and that's a big decision in the ISO ratings.
This question, I think, is for both Tennessee American Water and Walden Bridge. Are there any pending future treatment upgrades that are going to be made, and if so, how will the cost be borne by the ratepayers?
Just to have confidence, what our intention is, and like I said, there's several opportunities here on the mountain as we make interconnections. I talked about one earlier, but there's several that we would do. East Brown, because the more you circulate water, the better it gets. So it's just better for the community, better for us. So I think they would agree.
Yeah, I think Kurt and I can probably tag team on this one because I handle the operations side, Kurt handles the engineering side, so we work together constantly on projects. But we're really looking at 20 years at projects. We have a comprehensive planning study. So we've identified a dozen very large projects that we're working on, as well as what we call our smaller 5-year projects. And when I say smaller, some of them are still several $1 billion. We're very excited about a project I'd like to talk about this year is adding another pipeline across the Tennessee River. So Signal Mountain gets water from the Tennessee River from our Chattanooga plant. There are currently a couple different pipes that go across the Tennessee River. This summer we'll be putting another 30-inch line across the Tennessee River, which will North Shore, which would turn serve this town of Signal Mountain again supplying another redundant source of water to Signal Mountain. So Very large project. It's actually a really cool project. So would love for folks this summer, Daphne, we put out headlines in the paper about that project. So regardless of how this turns out, we would love to have folks come down and see this project because you don't see too many open cuts on the Tennessee River. I'll let Kirk talk about maybe some of the treatment projects and some of the other small projects.
Yeah, so kind of like Kevin's saying, we look at 10 years. So we got a master plan for our treatment facility. So we're looking at where things go, 5 years out, 10 years out, stuff like that. So the things that we have on the horizon, we're replacing one of the settling basins. We're putting some new technology called plate settlers so we can make it more efficient. We're also switching from chlorine gas as a disinfection to sodium hypochlorite, which has a real safety initiative at American Water. So we got this big project coming up right now. Like Kevin mentioned, we've got the river crossing project, which is a huge deal, and we'd love for folks to come out and check that out. Like he said, Daphne's going to put out press releases on it, but we'll be running a 30-inch line across the river here starting this summer. So we've got a lot of stuff going on the treatment plan. So we're constantly assessing, seeing what's out there, what technology we might want to look at that are on the horizon and we want to invest in.
Thank you both for that. The second part of that question was how many of these treatment upgrades were borne by the ratepayers, and that would be after the 5-year period.
So the way that our like treatment process type work would go is that we can spread across our rate base. So the benefit of having a large rate base is that you can spread the cost across more folks. So it's cheaper cost. So our treatment upgrades would be spread across our entire rate base.
Since we purchased water, we wouldn't have any treatment upgrades. Peterson would bear all the costs, and it's pretty close to 30 years since they've had a rate increase, so I don't look for a rate increase anytime soon on the source.
All right, that's a question, Dan. One of the downsides of having an attorney be the moderator is I'm going to ask a lot of follow-up questions, but I'm not doing that.
Hi, this is a question for Tennessee American. I'm a commissioner on the Noblett Utility District, and when we terminated our contract with you, we had a transition plan to go over to Walden. And what ended up happening is we had a date that was set, and you all came and pulled the parts of the SCADA system early, and also some of the automatic flush outs without telling us. And we had to scramble to get them done and turn to Walden to help us. But I asked the question is, will you commit to, if you do not get the contract, to not doing to Signal Mountain what you did to us and to having a smooth transition plan if you are not awarded the contract?
I definitely appreciate your question as well as the concern that you raise, and not familiar with all the details that you currently bring out relative to that transition there, but I can speak as president of Tennessee American Water that we will adhere to any terms that are in the contract or any agreements that are put in place relative to any transition plan. Our goal is to make sure that the customers up here for Signal Mountain are taken care of, the customers that we've been able to serve for the last 93 years. So we're not going to do anything that's going to place a hardship on the town of Signal Mountain, nor on the residents of Signal Mountain.
Because it did place a hardship on us. And my husband and I own property in the town of Signal Mountain, so we are very concerned about, the town as well as what happened.
Well, rightfully so. I'm as concerned about your community and all the communities that we serve, and I appreciate that.
And as I ask the next question, if they're allowed, if anybody else has questions, if you all want to go ahead and come up here and start a line, and that way you'll already be up here. You're welcome to have a seat if you want, but you'll be here, and that way we're back to move things quicker and hopefully get more questions asked. This question appears to be Tennessee American Water. Also, if Tennessee American Water owned and operated our system, would 100% of the money generated by the town's ratepayers be used within our mountain community, or would it be distributed over your broader system wherever improvements or development is needed?
To kind of answer like Kurt did earlier, our investment is spread across our entire customer base. So The nice thing on the larger customer base of over 78,000 is that same investment gets spread across all customers, so it would not be borne just on the ratepayers on Signal Mountain. The entire customer base would pay for those investments.
I'll speak about this year when we think about capital investments for Tennessee American Water. We're making $20 million worth of capital investments within our system, and the impact to our customer for that is around 71 cents per month per customer to make $20 million worth of investments. So, and those investments go very far when we think through the needs of the system, and going back to the slide that we showed earlier relative to the critical infrastructure needs within any water system.
Good evening. My name's Mickey James, and I'm a resident of Chattanooga. But I'm involved in a lot of local events within the Chattanooga community. A couple of those events I'd like to mention to you tonight. And Tennessee American Water is involved in both of these events. And what it shows to me is that they're involved in the community that they serve. One of those events is the Riverfront Nights Music Series. That is a free music series to the community of Chattanooga.
Sir, I think we only have about 15 minutes. Okay. If we could just reserve just for questions and let these folks actually answer my questions.
So they're very involved with that. Second thing is I'm a veteran. They're very much involved in the veteran community in Chattanooga by partnering with the Veterans Administration and providing services that the Veterans Administration doesn't. I just think it's important to know that they're a part of the local community.
Thank you for that. And just as a reminder, we do just want to limit this to questions. This is the first meeting. There will be more meetings. We'll have more discussion. So if we just keep it just to questions at this time. I've got one, actually, applied earlier. I'm going to skip because I've not asked Walden Bridge any questions, I think, yet. I have a question for Walden Bridge. Can you explain how the leak insurance customers works?
I'll give you, for instance, we've got a lady currently that owns a house, an elderly lady. She had a leak. Her grandson found it. She had a $1,400 water bill. She pays her normal bill, her average yearly bill. The insurance picks up every bit, the rest of the $1,400. So it's $1.50 a month. And then the extra line fee that's available is at $5 a month per customer. So it's through CertLine, something we don't know, but we offer, because there's people out here that don't know how to do their own plumbing. You can have a leak up to $10,000 on that CertLine, and they'll replace your line, or they'll pay for the repairs. It costs $5 a month. As you know, a plumber's about $75+ an hour. So 1 year's fee will cover that cost. So I think that insurance is a great thing.
In fairness, Tennessee Water wants to respond to that as well.
I would say there's very similar programs out there for all utilities, and there would be similar programs extended for Town Signal Mountain as well that would do exactly what Ron's saying.
All right, sir, go ahead.
Yes, from my understanding, and based on TVA's data, the Tennessee River is a river reservoir system. Can you guys clarify that up? Because I noticed you guys didn't mention that when we're talking about the Tennessee River.
So I'm not a geologist, but from a river reservoir standpoint, usually means a river that has a series of locks and dams on it, so the water is pooled. So we sit below Chickamauga Lake, below the dam there, so we are in a river section. If you continue to go downstream, we're in Nickajack Lake. The reservoirs allow containers to settle out in the lakes, so things may be introduced in the river, they make it to the next lake down, they settle out to the bottom, and it kind of cleanses the water in that sense. So that's from my standpoint, a river reservoir. So we sit in a very ideal location directly below the dam below Chickamauga. A lot of sediments that is settled out. It essentially leads to our high water quality of the source.
All right, the next question I have that was given to me earlier is a question for Tennessee American, who are shareholders of Tennessee American, and who would profit from customers.
Can you repeat that question?
Sure. Who are the shareholders of Tennessee American Water, and who would profit from customers?
Well, Tennessee American Water, as we talked about already, is a privately owned water utility, and that's one of the good things about having us being classified as a privately owned water utility is that we do have shareholders that invest within our system. So that means that we are readily available to be able to have access to capital and funds to address a number of things within our system, and it allows us to be able to have extremely low amounts of debt relative to paying for infrastructure needs within the system. So and our shareholders are generally larger groups. In fact, I can say that the state of Tennessee is a shareholder with Tennessee American Water. Vanguard, which is a very well-known investment group, is an investor in Tennessee American Water. I am proud to say that I am an investor in Tennessee American Water. Tennessee American Water offers an employee stock option purchase program, which a number of our employees are able to purchase stock in the company, 10% below market value. So that's great for us to become individual owners and investors within a company and within a source that we value so much.
In fairness, let me ask the same question for the Walden Green Utility District.
Our customers are our stockholders.
Go ahead.
All right, you had Tennessee American mentioned that if y'all get our system, then you're going to create a water board. When this board comes to you with any kind of problems that need to be resolved, is that something you do immediately here in Chattanooga, or do you have to work up your corporate ladder?
It would be immediately here in Chattanooga. Chattanooga is, and our corporate office for Tennessee American Water is located right off of Riverside Drive downtown outside of Chattanooga. So we are here. We are a local company. All of our employees live and work within our community. So the the actual Water Advisory Committee, we would come up here. We would be a part of Tennessee. We would be a part of the community up here. So it wouldn't be coming down the mountain. It would be us coming up here because we would be one Tennessee American Water.
Okay, thank you. Catch out.
This question is directed at one. I'm going to ask it to both of you, I think, in fairness also. But cleanliness of water, we talked about, and I've got a lot of questions about that, and both of you described the cleanliness of the water, I guess at the end source, I think is going to be the issue. And I don't care who goes first. I guess we'll let Walden go first, because I think this is what Mary had the last one.
I think Houston has one of the best sources in the country, so I love their water. I think it's a great source, and I think it's highly regarded, and I can't say enough good things about it, but the cleanliness is exceptional.
I'm not going to debate, cleanliness of water. I can say the Tennessee River is fantastic. 130 years, we've treated that water without a violation. And for the last 18 years, we've actually received the EPA Director's Award for going above and beyond treating standards. So it's a record we're very proud of. This is the water the customers have been drinking for the last 93 years. They are both fantastic sources of water. I feel very confident in Tennessee's source.
For both of you to follow up, is there somewhere that the citizens of Signal Mountain can actually go and look up this information regarding water cleanliness? And I'm assuming both of you would have some area or some way to look that up.
So there's multiple ways. Consumer Confidence Report is issued by all utilities in the state of Tennessee, which will talk to our environmental record, our meeting the standards that's set forth by the EPA and the Primacy Agency, which is Tennessee Department of Environment. Both of us are having to turn those into our customers every single year. You can also go to the EPA's website and About My Water, and it'll tell you additional stuff about your water as well as water sources. So the internet's a great resource for looking up those things, but both of us submit the CCR to our customers that really talk specific to our source.
Anything to add?
And with Hickson Water, you can look at USGS, United States Geological Society.
USGS is what he said, is the microphone, you can pick that up. Go ahead.
I have two very short questions, Tennessee American and then a short one for Walden Ridge. Your rates that will be flat for the next 5 years, will Signal Mountain customers still pay the capital improvement riders every year, or will those not be billed to us?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the capital riders. So the capital riders would, if we took ownership of the system, the capital riders would transfer on the Signal Mountain residents. And let's take a step back and talk about what capital riders are. You know, I talked in my presentation about infrastructure needs across the United States and how there's just a deficiency out there. And so the capital riders were something that were created back in 2012 by the Hasselman administration to help address that exact need that I talked about. And so Valerie mentioned earlier that the capital riders really would consist of about 71 cents per customer per month. And that gives us about $20 million of capital improvements that we can do across our system. And our ultimate goal is to create a sustainable infrastructure program, and we're getting there. We know that we have to keep our rates comparable. You know, we showed our rates earlier, and they're very comparable, very competitive with local rates. So we're trying to create a sustainable program that we can carry on long in the future.
If I can add on to that, Kurt, because riders are generally thought of as an add-on for our customers. We have a series of different riders, and we have one called PCOP, which is your production costs and other pass-throughs. That rider is actually going to decrease in customers' bills since we've introduced it. We have kept costs flat or decreased them in our plant from planning. So our energy costs today are actually lower than they were when we went into this in 2013 when that was submitted. So we've seen a decrease by efficiencies we gain in the plant, as well as chemical decreases, as well as being more efficient with our purchased water. So we've actually gave that money back to our customers. So there are multiple riders, and I don't want people walking away thinking our riders are not that decrease. The PCOP, the production cost of the pass-through rider, has actually resulted in a decrease for customers since its inception.
And also, too, I'd like to point out, too, that the capital riders by law can only go to capital improvement. So that's stuff we're investing, we're putting pipe in the ground, we're working on the treatment process, things like that.
Well, one of you can probably answer this. Do you have a fire hydrant maintenance cost for the city of Chattanooga? A yearly maintenance cost for maintenance, flushing and stuff for each fire hydrant?
We do not.
So there's no charge for that?
There's not. Our tariff sheets are public on our website, and it has all the charges for our different fees, and the fire hydrant fees for Chattanooga are zero.
Okay, and then Walden Ridge, your acquisition offer is $3.8 million. Tennessee Americans is $3.2 million. These totals reflect how each provider deals with the RFP costs that are $200,000. So the bottom line is Signal Mountain gets more, gets $600,000 more if they choose WRUD. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yes, David. Hold on a second. I'm going to intersperse here with a question from the audience that was given to me earlier. If Walden Bridge purchased the water system and didn't keep the pump station, how would there be an emergency connection? And I guess the first question would have to be, is Walden Bridge going to keep a pump station? Would there be a secondary pump station for Walden?
Yes, we would keep the pump station because it's part of the acquisition. We might table it, but it would be a point that we could purchase water from Tennessee American, yes.
And I think I heard both of you talk earlier that you would work with each other regardless of who gets the bid to have a secondary system?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Yes, my name is David Evans. I live at 619 Carolina here in Signal Mountain. This is principally for Tennessee American, and while I know you said your water quality reports were online and available, I could only find the most recent report is 2015 on your website. In any event, this question really concerns what you were talking about, how the Tennessee River water is so good, requires so little treatment. I wondered if you could explain to the people here at the meeting why your trihalomethanes, or THM carcinogens, are so close to the maximum level allowed by law in order to lawfully sell the water. I think the 2015 report, I recall, was at 70. I think that Walden's Ridge is about 8, or a little fraction over 8, and that actually some of your samples, according to your 2015 report, I may have this wrong, and you could speak to it, were actually in excess of the level allowed by law. And of course, those carcinogens not only affect human beings or pets, but they go back into the environment, including the Tennessee River. And I wondered if you could explain why yours is so much higher and theirs is so much lower. And you said it's such great water, it requires so little treatment. Thank you.
Try to keep these calls down so we can move through.
So, I'd love to expand on TTHMs and trihalmethanes, and you've asked a very complex question, and I'm going to try to keep it as high level as I can. But really, it's in simplest terms, it's apples and oranges when you talk about groundwater versus surface water. A TTHM is a byproduct of mixing one chemical with organic material in the water, and what that means is dirt. For the simplest of terms, groundwater is different than surface water, so you will almost always have a higher TTHM level in a surface water source than a groundwater. But then the next part of your question is to understand how health effects work and what the EPA calls standards. It's not an acute chemical that causes a health effect. So what you're looking at on the CCR is a one-time sample. The actual regulation works around a long-term running annual average, and it involves having to have so much water drank over a period of time. So what you've seen on the CCR is the highest number that was reported in that year, not necessarily the long-term running annual average. You can liken that to speed limits. So out here on James, the speed limit's 30 miles an hour. Is a driver doing 29 or 24 necessarily safer than one or the other? They are both within the limit. They are both equally safe. So there is a difference. It really comes down to understanding the numbers and the health effects. And the EPA has lots of guidance documents to help you understand where those health limits come from. They're very conservative in their approach. Again, they're based on a long-term average. And the last thing I'll address would be the water quality report. I apologize that you couldn't find our latest numbers. The 2017 reports are out there, and I'm sure Daphne or myself, when we get done, can walk you through where you can see our most recent reports. Those are already posted for this year.
Next question, and the one I'm skipping through is basically somewhat the same question that you just answered. And frankly, some of the words that you enlarged for me, so I'm going to skip over. The next one is for Walden's Ridge. There are currently 2 main pipelines up the mountain. If Walden's Ridge takes over, will only one be used? And I don't know enough about the question or the system to know if that's what the response will be. You can read it again?
Yes, please.
Since there are currently 2 main pipelines up the mountain, if Walden's Bridge takes over, will only one be used?
Well, that's what we had talked about. Once we make the interconnections, once we start tying the system together, if we get the go-ahead, then we will use our current pump station, use that as a secondary or an emergency type pump station. But yes, we will table that one, but we will have it to use in case of emergency.
And which one specifically will be taken?
The signal mount one.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I have a couple of yes/no questions and then one for discussion. For Tennessee American, Walden's Ridge mentioned that they provide 100% of employee health, vision, and dental insurance to their employees. Will it be employees that start with you also enjoy that benefit?
And the answer is going to be no for that. As far as an employee-employer split for insurance purposes, Tennessee American Water pays 75% and the employees pay 25% of the insurance.
For vision and dental as well?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then this is just a real simple 3rd grade question. My understanding is that you're starting with a cleaner water source with Walden's Ridge using a ground source. Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
Okay. And so then I want you, if you would mind, each of you to explain the filtration process that you're required to go through versus what you're required to get our water drinkable.
With Hickson, there is no filtration process. They pump it to a clear well, they add the chemicals, the fluoride, the chlorine, the corrosion inhibitor, and they pump it out into the system.
So ours is going going to be a little more complex. It's referred to as a conventional treatment process. So we pull water out of the river. It goes through a coagulation where we add a coagulant which takes the dirt, makes the particles stick together. It goes into a flocculation section where those particles combine to become larger or gain mass. Into a sedimentation basin where the larger particles sink to the bottom. We add chlorine at that point for some disinfection. It runs through a filtration process. We have a granular activated carbon filter system that the water will pass through. It also captures other contaminants that may be in the water. It also serves as a safeguard for other products that may be in the water. At that point, we add an additional dose of chlorine. We add a corrosion inhibitor into it to help protect the pipes, and the same stuff at that point that Hickson Utilities or anybody else would have in their water supply. The interesting thing about a surface water plant is its ability to mitigate changing conditions. Whereas if an event happened on the Tennessee River, like we experienced not too long ago, there was an oil spill upriver, we have treatment capacity to manage that seamlessly. That type of situation happens on a plant or a system that doesn't have the sophistication to handle it. It turns the water supply off until a mitigation approach can be brought in, which we've seen in other parts of our region where groundwater sources were contaminated to the point that they had to bring in additional treatment capacity. We have that built into our process, so as conditions change, we continue to operate and provide safe water for our customers.
And I'd like to add to that in regards to our plant, it's actually a pretty cool process to be able to come and visit our plant and take a tour of the plant. We love to have schools to come out and bring the students because it's a great educational program for them to understand the water treatment process from the beginning all the way to the end. In fact, if you were to go and visit our Facebook page, you'll see that there is a video from Signal Mountain High School, the students and the teacher, where they were able to actually come and visit the plant, and they had a ton of takeaways that they were able to utilize for a particular school project that they had. And then also, we opened our plant up for the community to come out and to just take time to spend with us to know who we are. So I'd invite anybody that would like to come and take a tour of our plant on June the 21st. We have an event that's called Waterfest, and it allows for the community, anyone that wants to take a tour of our facilities to really see where the capital investments go within our system to understand what that process is. And I'll kind of end by saying that we have had 130 years without one water quality violation, nothing relative to our water from a quality standpoint. We are a superior plant with superior employees and water quality professionals that take this top notch as a high priority for our customers.
All right, same thing on applause, but just keep that to a minimum for both sides, just so that way we can move through. A question from the audience given to me: how does each company locate hidden leaks to decrease unaccounted water or hidden leaks? And let me, since Tennessee American Water finished, we'll start with Walden Bridge, and then we'll come back to Tennessee American.
We currently have a leak detection program. We share a guy in Howley County with 3 other utility districts. He surveys our district once a month. We continually survey different parts of our system, trying to find leaks in our overlines. We rely on our customers. In this time of year, with the rainy season, this rock, it's hard to find leaks. So it's definitely a challenge on the mountain, but with technology and things today, it's you have to constantly pump and you put money forward to find leaks because it's a growing cost to the utility districts and the privates. So,
So this is a really cool area for us. We did a lot of the same things that Ron does, and you can't beat boots on the ground. Having folks out there working to look for those leaks, and we have a full-time group. We don't share an employee. We have full-time employees doing leak detection for us. We also are very familiar with the mountain environment and how tough it can be, especially when you start getting cross-country or off the beaten path. So in those instances, we're using our SCADA system to help us. Our plants can identify a leak by how quickly a tank's draining or filling. So a lot of our plant staff will be the first ones to notify us that there could be a potential leak in our area.
We also did something with demand management areas. So when you start stationing meters throughout your system that are looking at one-way feeds, you can quickly identify a leak. You can also see at nighttime when flow should be low. When you're picking up flows in an area that shouldn't have a lot of flow, it identifies those leaks to help you get to those leaks quicker to solve the problem. And then most recently, we've entered a pilot. We're very fresh in Chattanooga. We did this in Whitwell. Because Whitwell, we're still learning the system, and we don't have great maps of the facilities. So we're learning as we go. So we employ technology from Utilis. They use the satellite technology to fly over our water system, and using an algorithm, they're able to identify water underneath the ground that has chlorine in it. So based on that, we go out and we look at these hot spots. They're not exact by any means, but they get you in the neighborhood. We go from finding 1 leak a day on average with a crew that's doing acoustic monitoring to finding 7 leaks a day. That type of technology is unheard of for us, just to see those results in a system that we didn't know as much about. We're very fresh in Chattanooga on using that technology, so it's really too early to see how it's going to pay off in the Chattanooga region, but in a mountain environment or a rural environment where you have broken records, it seems to have a very high potential for it. We're very excited to be able to kind of invest in those pilots and those technologies, and we believe that something that kind of sets us apart is the ability to invest in these pilots and stay ahead on the cutting edge of solving these problems. Because at the end of the day, it does go back into rates, it affects our customers, and it's a customer service standpoint. And one last point on that is some of these leaks that we're finding are on the customer side. Before they've got their bill, we're identifying a leak on the customer side of the meter and able to identify it and let them know before their bill shows up, hey, you've got a leak, and it allows them an opportunity to solve their problem so they don't get a high water bill.
I'd like to add a little bit to that, Kevin. I'm glad that you actually spoke about the SCADA resources that we offer, because it's going to allow me to go back to a question that the commissioner had earlier relative to Lone Oak and the SCADA system there. I love technology, so the fact that I wasn't able to readily speak to that, I was able to inquire really fast to say, okay, what happened there with Lone Oak? And in fact, the resources are still there. The SCADA system is still there. So I would love to have a conversation with you afterwards to be able to talk about where that disconnect may have been. We did not come and we did not take those resources out. And for whatever that hardship may have been, I'd love for us to be able to talk about that afterwards. And so thank you for bringing that to my attention.
All right, we have 3 people standing, so we'll take these 3 questions, and I think that'll be probably the end of the question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad we're not ending with it. Jamie Blanket, live on Carriage Hill. I think I'll mostly address the questions that I had, but the biggest was obviously water quality related. There's a sign in my neighborhood that says, say no to dirty water. I'd like to assume that I know which utility that's being referred to, but even I don't. There's a TDAC report out talking about the transmissivity of contaminants in aquifers and groundwater sources. I know you had a recent release, and well, you didn't have a release, but you had to address a recent release. So I was wondering if both of you could speak to what is your fail-safe cutoff when there is a contaminant loaded in the water, and what is your backup supply, and generally how long would you suspect that contaminants have actually been in the water supply before you've had a chance to respond to it?
I just gave Kevin a heart attack when I picked up the microphone because he thought I was going to answer the question. It's a very complex question, so I'm going to pick it to him. He's the expert. But before I actually give him the microphone, I do first of all want to say, and I want to make it very clear, water quality is our #1 priority outside of safety for our employees. The safety of our customers and the water and the resource that we provide to them is our priority. So we are going to always, and I stand by this as president of the company, ensure that the quality of our water is superior. So any reference to the fact that it's not definitely does offend me and it offends us as a company, but I would like to just stress and reiterate that we have gone 130 years without any sort of water quality violation. We have a number of our water quality professionals and our employees that are here today, our supervisors, our lab technicians who are out in the field and ensuring that they're pulling samples within our system and ensuring that the quality is superior.
And let me, and I don't know that you all, I don't know that matters who goes first, and I guess we'll let Tennessee American just get started. Because your question is very specific, you might want to ask it one more time just to make sure. Are you all good with the question? Okay. Wadsworth, you all good with the question? Okay.
So I'll kind of rephrase your question, and you just nod if I'm on par, but you said, what is my my process for knowing about any type of contamination, how quickly I respond to it, and what our process would be if we did find something. Does that summarize it?
Yeah, and what would be important would be a backup source.
Okay. So, job number one, prevent it from getting in your source. So we have source water monitoring devices that we've invested in the last couple of years specifically that are online 24/7 monitoring water coming into the plant. So if they were to pick up a detect, we're going to get immediate notification that something has changed in the water. We may not know exactly what it is, but we know something has changed at that point. We're also part of a broader network of Tennessee Warren as well as some other Coast Guard notification systems. So if there's any type of spill or an event on the river, a sheen is identified, they pick up the phone, they call us immediately. As soon as it hits the spill hotline, they're calling. So this may not be at our intake yet, but it could be upstream, downstream. They're just letting us know if something's going on your water source. You're listed as a person that withdraws water, you need to know. So we have a couple of different things to let us know. At that point, we can have options to work with TVA to potentially slow down flows or to increase flows in the river. The goal would be to keep it out of our plant. If it were to get into the plant, we have additional treatment processes. Powder activated carbon would be process number one. Essentially anything organic, the powder activated carbon is going to be able to neutralize or mitigate that hazard. So that would be the primary treatment, but we're also part of a broader network of experts that we would reach out to know everything that we can about that contaminant, whatever it may be. And we'll modify treatment accordingly. So depending on what it is, we may be lowering pH, we may increase pH, we may play with chlorine. There's a number of different chemical and physical changes we can make in that plant to mitigate the majority of things that can be introduced into the Tennessee River. I'm trying to think what the last part of that was.
Backup sources.
Backup sources. So we have mutual aid with our neighboring utilities, and we've had instances. We had a line go out of the Tennessee River, and it compromised our supply to the point that we were getting nervous. We didn't run out, but it was to the point we picked up the phone and started calling our neighboring utilities. We deployed HEP pipes, similar to what Ron was talking about, across the top of the road as a temporary solution to connect with these other systems. So while we have permanent connections, we also designed on-the-fly temporary connections with some of our neighboring utilities to supply our customers in those regions to ensure they never had any impact as a result of that main break. Something else that happened really cool at the same time is being part of a broader network. We had a 24-inch line go out in the Tennessee River. We had crews that were deployed from all over the country by that evening to help mitigate a 24-inch. We routed over a mile of pipe from across the country. It was on my yard the next morning. It was unbelievable when we started putting our heads together, we started talking to engineering firms. Hey, we've got an event on the river, we need some help. And I had people calling around the clock, what can I do? And it was everything from our neighbors, East Side was there to help us. The other utilities down in Georgia were willing to help. Everybody was calling, hey, can we get you something? And we all join in that network of mutual aid. When something's going on, we'll connect systems and you check your egos at the door. And that's just something that as a water utility we do. But as part of a broader private network, we do have access to the engineers and the water quality experts and the PhDs that are a lot smarter than me to start solving these problems, and they're a phone call away at any moment.
As the slideshow said, Peterson is a true groundwater source. I don't know how you get contaminants in it. They do have a secondary source, Walker Corner, where they have wells in it. But the likelihood of getting contamination in those wells, the cave is sealed. They use wells to get the water out of it. So likelihood of getting contamination, it'd be a atomic bomb probably is what would take to contaminate that well or the source. But they do have a backup, yes.
But then, say we have an atomic bomb, what's the backup?
Walker's Corner, they do have a backup source, yes.
Are you saying we should go there if we have an atomic bomb?
Yes, it's sealed.
I would just say before we leave that question that we're both the same as TDEC qualified. All sources in this area is highly susceptible. Groundwater, surface water, we have the same risk. And while Rob may believe it's impossible or nearly impossible, we've all seen wells become contaminated. I have well sources up on Suck Creek. It's something I think about. Your wellhead protection area is very, very important, even on a true aquifer. It's something that's happened. I would encourage you to read the newspapers and to look. You will find surface water sources, you will find groundwater sources. They are not unique as superior.
Well, it's very good to let you respond briefly to that. Well, let them.
Hickson has a superior source at Cave Springs, so the history of it is a great source. There has been wells contaminated prior to. I think we had one at Fallen Water. A gentleman dumped some stuff out and we found some contamination in the well and it shut down. But like I said, we have a secondary source of water. So that's where neighbors come in together to supply water. They wouldn't let us run out of water, we wouldn't let them. So if they call us, we would sell them water and they would sell us water. So that's where agreements come in together.
Very good. Thanks.
First, I'd like to begin just by thanking both groups for coming out and also providing the water that you do, because it isn't easy to clean and it's not easy to keep clean. Go down to Tennessee River, you go down there and look, any place down in Chattanooga, you'll see signs that say, do not eat the fish, it will cause cancer. And I know that's where we're pulling our water, we're treating for that. I don't know if we can fish in the aquifer. I mean, there's the cavern out there, way out in Oak Ridge, where they have the blind fish floating around in the lost sea. I don't think we're going to eat those fish. In regard to the contaminations that get into the water supply, I'm sure that sewage doesn't get into the aquifer, but I guess it can. I know it gets into the Tennessee River. It gets into the Tennessee River a lot. A whole lot. And I know you guys do a great job filtering it out. But 93 years of exposure to chlorine and iodine and chemicals to treat the poo and to treat the pesticides and all the stuff that gets in there knocks about 20 years off my lifespan. That's a lot. That's a whole generation that's wiped out. Now my question is this. I know you're treating it very well. We have a superior product. Do not be offended by what I'm saying here. And I'm sure the aquifer is a very clean source as well. Who is better prepared to go after the people that are doing this and dumping the mess into our water supplies? Because we get them. You just said we had I guess it was an oil leak. We don't know if it was from the train yard yet or where, but that got into the Tennessee River. Now, if that happens to the aquifer, you mentioned that the aquifer got some guy dumped something head in. Who's going to step up and go after and hold responsible those that are contaminating our water sources, either from the Tennessee River or from the aquifer? Because that is going to be the deal for the next 20 years, next 30 years. And until you start doing something, until you are active, you're going after the people that are contaminating our rivers and our aquifers, it doesn't matter what you provide, because it's still going to be contaminated.
So I think the question is, what is each group doing to stop people from contaminating the water source? And does anybody want to go first? I'll let Tennessee American next last time. I'll let Walden do this time.
EPA granted a wellhead protection program several years ago. I know Hickson had purchased a lot of land around this well, this aquifer. I think it's 100 acres. And that's the only way to protect is the zoning around the wellheads. Certain things can be built, cannot be built within so many feet, and that's how you protect the source. And you've got to protect the river also. Hamilton County, state of Tennessee has done excellent cleaning up the river, cleaning up Chattanooga, cleaning up the creeks. I think we've all seen that, so we're all very proud to live here. So, give Chattanooga a big hand on cleaning up the rivers and cleaning up the creeks. And I think that's something that is going to make Chattanooga shine, or is making Chattanooga shine. I'm very proud to live here. So, I think the more we do to protect and look for the future is what we need to be doing.
Tennessee American?
I agree 100% with Ron on the wellhead protection. The EPA's role in that. TDEC, the Tennessee Department of Environment's role in that. They've done a fantastic job of creating a network of folks to mitigate that. The rivers are cleaner than they've been in years. I will speak to being part of broader networks and larger groups. Val, myself, and Kurt are actually participating on a group called Tennessee H2O. Val's on the executive committee. I'm subcommittee as well as Kurt, but it's a network of water experts to solve exactly what you're talking about, to ensure that we have safe, clean water in Tennessee for the next generation. We're identifying where are the gaps. We recognize the river's cleaner than it's ever been, but it's far from where it needs to be, and that's the same with every creek and stream in Tennessee. They can always be cleaner. So we're identifying methods to improve waterways so they are better than they've ever been before. And it's by bringing people together. The Coast Guard's on that, Army Corps of Engineers, TVA, they have private utilities, they have industry, they have municipals, utility districts are represented on it, so it's a very broad network of experts all working together to solve exactly what you're looking for.
Sir, that's an excellent question that you asked. We're a member of Tennessee Association of Utility Districts. That group lobbies our representatives in Nashville for stronger environmental regulations, particularly involving water, because that's what we're involved in. But your question really, I think, should be directed to Washington and our people in Washington who are cutting back on EPA, and to our people in Nashville who are restricting somewhat our state people. But we're not in favor of that.
And I'll add to that as well, and I'll piggyback on Kevin relative to the H2O team, that water team that's been pulled together. It's actually Governor Haslam that pulled this group together. Kevin talked about kind of checking egos at the door. This is a very collaborative, cross-functional group of individuals, and I'm proud that Governor Haslam chose me and the team to be a part of that, and for us to be able to represent and solve the water issues for Tennessee. And I would also like to speak a little bit about our environmental grant program. We spoke about that earlier. The environmental grant program is a particular grant, several grants that we give every year, and it actually is for our future generation. So it's for organizations, it's for schools that have specific programs relative to the environment and protecting the environment, and it allows them to have access to funds to be able to solve for those problems. So wherever we can be kind of an impact to that, we want to be a part of the solution and not contribute to the problem.
I can understand.
Let me catch you off because we've got another person that needs to talk, so we need to.
I just want to
pass my dinner time.
All I want to know is who's going to go after these guys, and that's who it is. I mean, I understand it's hard to get somebody to go after the guys that are doing this, and I'm just going to say, please do.
Yes, sir.
Like him, I do appreciate that you both take the time to get to make our water safe. As someone in the community, I am both a business owner and a homeowner, and I have bills for both Walden and American, Tennessee. So I took a look at my bills, because when it comes down to it for me, I find that there are 4 categories that I'm looking at. I am looking at quality, I am looking at the cost to me, I'm looking at the benefits that are going to happen, and I'm going to look at how am I going to pay this bill. So the questions that I have are in those categories. The quality of water, you both are doing fantastic jobs with the quality. It is my understanding that the more contaminated water is, the more process you have to go through. That then relates to a cost to me. It is my understanding that Walden doesn't have to go through as much because of the type of water source. It is my understanding that Tennessee, their water source, has a lot more contamination, so you have to go through a whole lot more process. When I look at my bills, it reflects that process. If Walden takes over Signal Mountain, how is that going to reflect the cost of what you are getting ready to do to give the quality of water to the people in Signal? How are you going to go about making my bill? Same for Tennessee. When you look at your water source, when you look at what you're doing to take over for Signal, how is that going to reflect on my bill? Some of the research I've looked at so far online, I have seen some things regarding Walden about what you will be doing. I'm understanding that there's a $20 increase for every customer, as well as all capital improvements are going to be made at the town's expense. That is what the media is reporting. I have not found how the media is reporting for Tennessee. So how are we going to break that down into my bill, to these people's bill? What is our bill going to look like?
I could speak for our setup is about 71 cents per month. It would be that capital investment for making improvements to our water system. So it was in the proposal as our rider increase as approved by TPUC. So it's based on this year's plan of spending about $20 million. We would anticipate about that much of an increase next year on bills.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of follow up on that too. You know, talking about the rider, just mentioned before, 71 cents pays for $20 million a year. So it's we're really able to get a lot more bang for your buck with the dollars that we're spending. But that's really helping address infrastructure. I think that the town, part of the RFP process, part of the reason that we're going through this now is the town realizes that they've got some infrastructure needs and things that they need to look at. And so Tennessee American can bring that capital investment that we're looking for to get everything up to snuff. And we're talking about building a sustainable infrastructure program. That's our goal.
I'd like to add to your comment relative to being able to pay your bill and how to pay your bill. Tennessee American Water, we have a program, and this is for our customers that do have maybe struggle paying a bill or making a bill payment. It's called our Water Help Program, and it's kind of utilized through the United Way within Chattanooga. So customers that do have maybe a problem or struggle paying a bill for whatever particular reason, then we do have a program in place to be able to help them and provide that resource for them if there is a need.
All right, Walden Church. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
When we talk about capital improvements, we're going to spend money, and like I said, it's going to take some time. We're not going to come in and change this district overnight. It's, I've been working at Walden for 13 years, and we've got work to do there too. But 100% of the money from our ratepayers stay in Walden. And the same thing will happen here in Signal Mountain. 100% of the money will stay here. The capital riders we don't have, so we'll use the funds that we collect from the ratepayers and spend the money here on the district. We don't have stockholders. We don't have investors that we have to answer to. So that's what I think the advantage for Walden is, our public utility. 100% of the money that we invest here will be your money, and it will be collected here from the customers.
You both talk about fixed rates. Does that mean that with the fixed rates that will occur before or after we know what our bill's going to look like after the takeover?
I believe we both agreed to keep base rates the exact same. So on day one, Tennessee American's proposing those rates would remain in effect for the next year.
5 years.
5 years, yes, correct.
Correct.
Collegiality.
Currently, you don't have a rider on yours. With us, you won't have a rider either. So,
one quick question that Ms. Landrum mentioned, I think some of what she's asked. How much per 1 gallon of water will it cost the ratepayers?
No, right now.
How much right now and how much?
Yeah, for the for the average Chattanooga customer, for the average Walden customer, and for the average Signal Mountain customer, what does 1 gallon of water cost right now?
Did you bring your calculators?
I'll be glad to address part of that. You have a minimum bill that includes a certain gallonage. So to ask what 1 gallon costs is not going to be something we can calculate. We can calculate the cost of production of 1 gallon of water, delivering that to your doorstep. But the cost of your bill becomes a factor of the minimum bill, how many gallons are included in that. Walden's Ridge bill is based on gallons, and I don't know if you all bill on cubic feet.
Gallons.
Okay, so you're on cubic feet. So there's a conversion factor between cubic feet and gallons that goes into the equation. And you'll have to look at how many gallons are included in that minimum bill, or how many cubic feet are included in that minimum bill.
So if the home is turned off, no water is going to it.
There's a flat bill that you pay.
The flat fee that you pay. I mean, North American pays somewhere between 17 to 20. What is yours?
So, yes, I think this is a little more complex, but $13.96 is a minimum bill. That's the meter fee for a residential customer. If you used 0 gallons of water, you would have a bill of $13.96. The remaining water comes in at about less than a penny a gallon. So if you wanted that price per gallon, we generally bill in thousands of gallons. So it's a little different measure, but I think you all are the same way. You're billing hundreds of gallons or thousands of gallons. So 1 gallon, we got to move the decimal point way out, but we're going to be less than a penny per gallon.
So move to 1,000 gallons, what's it? Let's see.
Yes. So, minimum gallons.
2,000.
That might be a question that you all need to work on and get to later.
It sounds like the actual cost to me as a customer is really going to be variable between each one of these companies. So who am I going to get hit more with a heavier bill? It really is what's going to be the question for me.
Well, you know what? One of the things we did earlier that I showed in my presentation is we compared some local rates for about 4,000 gallons per month usage. That's what the average residential customer uses. Our Chattanooga rate is $23 and something cents. I think Walden's Ridge was 38, something like that. On 4,000 gallons.
You understand the question being asked. We're going to have a few more of these meetings. You all prepare that and bring it back.
Sure.
That would be helpful for the next thing. Thank you. Yes.
I think we're done. As far as the trail, we're